Me playing 1000xResist was a bit of a journey, to say the least. It started when an artist that I follow on Twitter recommended the game, and I grew interested when she mentioned the game's excellent story. A few days passed and my feed had Jacob Geller praising it, a sign that I should probably get the game. I logged onto Steam and checked reviews and was promptly greeted by a few common words: generational trauma and the Asian diaspora. It was at this point that I figured this was something that I had to play. This wasn't just a desire, it was an obligation. I was expecting a good story. What I got was an experience that had me staring at a wall for a few minutes, especially given my
I'm sorry for being Filipino. It's not my
culture. Afterwards, I quickly tweeted my thoughts over it. The things I said in that tweet were not hyperbole. It is my belief that 1000xResist is a masterful work of art that beautifully captures the experience of the Asian diaspora and its struggles of discrimination and imperialism. It tackles how said struggles breed trauma in those individuals, which reverberates across future generations. The scope expanded beyond familial ties by exploring the effects of totalitarian regimes and the politics that come with revolution and its significance, tying into how these oppressive systems are what creates said generational trauma. It demonstrated how both concepts can create a feedback loop, highlighting the cyclicality of these dynamics and, more importantly, how to move beyond that pain. There's so much of this game that spoke to me, so much material it covered that it felt liberating. This story and its messages resonated with me in a way no other game has, serving as a lens into my culture and how to live and address pain I didn't even realize I was feeling. One aspect in particular stood out to me, and it was the game's look into post-memory and the generation after. I will go through major points of the game's story, so of course spoilers will be ahead. If you have not already seen or played 1000xResist, I implore you to play it. It is well worth your time. Before tying 1000xResist with post-memory, we first need to find out what the word means. As defined by Professor Mary Ann Hirsch, who first coined the term in 1992, post-memory is an inherited memory of a lost past, acquired by a generation that succeeds a previous generation that underwent a traumatic event. This term was coined to better understand Holocaust survivors and how their children end up experiencing said events despite not being born at the time. It is an experience of being separated in time and space from the war being remembered, yet of living with the eyewitness memory, a series of projected and imagined memories. The generation coming after the survivors never directly experienced the atrocities, but indirectly absorbed their parents' memories through the latter's emotional pain and trauma. 1000xResist takes this concept and applies it as one of its core mechanics. We, as the player, don't experience the events that shaped its world and the characters inhabiting it. Instead, we venture into the memories of our protagonist's predecessor, who as well never saw the events which shaped her world, the world her parents experienced. Iris's parents were protesters during the Hong Kong umbrella movement who fled to Canada. That trauma was passed on to Iris through her mom's parenting. This can be seen with the memories where we see Iris argue with her parents due to their differing ideals. The mom is a survivor who wants to protect her daughter, but said daughter, who never grew up at that time period, fights against this as she sees her mom's parenting as suffocating and restrictive. However, what Iris does not realize until much later in her life was how she ended up picking up her mom's traits. She even picked up her mom's habit of sleepwalking, which the latter acquired due to the protests. Despite trying to live her own life, she parents her sisters in a style similar to that of her mother, authoritative and dogmatic, and when she sees a sister defy those rules, she retaliates and punishes, all too similar to the mom who raised her. Iris indirectly experienced the pain her parents went through, from the protests to even the rift between her own mom and grandmother. Yet she was never able to move on, and thus passed it on to her sisters, who in turn relived that trauma through communions after multiple generations. The crucial aspect with these flashbacks is that they are just that, flashbacks. We see events, yet they are entirely divorced from time and space itself. These events were not directly told to us. We were instead met with silence.
Ah, picture day, is it?
Ugh, privacy, hello?
Muy muy. Doors can always close. If you leave them open, you invite visitors. You must be posing for a funeral.
This leads into another aspect of post-memory this game discusses, how the silence becomes another tool for telling one's history. What isn't said can hold as much power as what has been told. When looking into children of families who fled Vietnam to the United States during the Vietnam War, sociologist Yen Lee Espiritu found that many of her interviewees never got to learn about the war from their parents. Instead, the silence and avoidance their parents exhibited indirectly taught them the devastation the war left behind. One interviewee, Lin Duong, stated that, quote, "My parents don't talk about their history much, mostly because it consists of suffering. And when they do talk about it and stuff, sometimes I do try to block that out because it's so sad. It's not that I'm trying to deny it, it's just that I just hope sometimes when I hear about how my mom has suffered and all the hardships that she went through. With my dad, I asked him, why don't you ever talk about your time in war? And he was like, what is there to talk about? And that would end the conversation. I didn't want to push it because there might be some unfortunate memories that he has that he doesn't want to share. Like, I don't want to open old wounds or anything like that, but I was so curious." The consequences of that silence and how it teaches individuals about events in history are also echoed in 1000xResist's story. Looking into Iris's life, we know that her parents were protesters, and yet they never explicitly tell those events to their daughter. Her dad even tells Iris to not talk to her mom about what life was like in Hong Kong for fear of bringing back emotional wounds.
She's sleepwalking again.
Well, it's that time of year.
Is she sick?
She'll be alright.
How come we can't talk about it?
When sometimes there's things that don't need to be said.
Why?
Because the truth can hurt people. We don't want to hurt your mother, do we?
No.
This is our secret. You and me.
It becomes their secret. It becomes another moment of silence, another moment of silencing history, silencing the truth. Truth is a concept that frequently appears throughout 1000xResist, or rather piecing together history due to our incomplete understanding of it. The game even starts with us being told that we must look back and find out what happened.
It's you. How are we here? Is this punishment for what you did? For what I did? There is a now, and you are in it. There is a fissure, and we articulate it. You're wasting your time on me. If you want me gone, just do it already. You have sent sisters to burn. We both know the taste. I want you to see from the beginning. There is a then, and you'll receive it. Wait, don't go.
Due to the effects of past events and the silence accompanying them, we must understand the context of said event and the reasoning for happening. All of this is quintessentially the post-memory experience of the Asian diaspora that this game very much seeks to explore. We, as the player, were never given the complete lens that the story contained, only having shattered bits of it, unable to see what's in front of us. In fact, we don't even realize that the person we have been playing for half of the story wasn't even the true protagonist. We never got to experience them firsthand. As stated prior, we look into flashbacks, fragmented stories across time and space. Despite all that, we still keep searching. We keep looking into the past, trying to piece together the broken mirror to stare back at its reflection. Us. When we transition over from Watcher to Blue, we witness the story change and history shift. Principal frames Watcher as a criminal for killing Iris in order to exact her vengeance and rise to power. This is after we realize that Principal was the youngest, the ancient sister who sinned, the one who faced Iris's wrath for defying her rules. During this time, Principal abandons her identity as the youngest and seeks to rewrite history due to what Iris did to her. She runs away from the truth and seeks to shape it to her liking. Yet this affects the other sisters present, and Blue serves as our prime example. As someone who lacks a firm self-identity, she parallels the Vietnamese children Espiritu interviewed, being given a narrative, yet not fully understanding who they are due to post-memory and historical revisionism. The United States very much created a narrative where they were the benevolent heroes of the Vietnam War, yet conflicting views arise. Vietnamese people very much did suffer under the United States' actions. Operation Baby Lift is an example, detailing how it ended up separating Vietnamese kids from their families. Back in the orchard, we see people who have perspectives that stand in opposition to the provisional government's narrative, that things are better than the status quo Iris created. And yet, the upper and lower floors of the orchards indicate social stratification. Discrimination between sisters and the Iris and Zhao types exist, not helped by the oppressive nature of the Red Guard police force. Blue is representative of the Asian diaspora, attempting to define who she is while living in a world that seeks to conform her to a specific definition, view, and perspective. As the story goes on, Blue pieces together the truth and the lies of the provisional government. When Bartender is killed by the Red Guard, she finally takes on the name Blue, the last thing she can remember her mentor for, a start to finding herself. Yet this isn't enough. She wants the world to burn in the pain she felt losing the closest thing she had to a parental figure, and so she goes along with the sympathizers' plans and blows up the play Principal participated in as an act of retribution and defiance. Espiritu discussed how a Southern California task force was founded in the 90s. Its goal was to better understand the rise of gang memberships, school dropouts, suicide, and intergenerational conflicts within Southeast Asian youth. They found out that the main reason for this phenomenon was a lack of belonging and the emptiness that came from having no identity. One example noted how the Vietnamese American interviewee joined a gang because he did not know why he was supposed to earn accolades and straight A's. Another cited the constant criticism they received from their Vietnamese elders and how they and American society would not teach them Vietnamese history. Throughout the passage, Espiritu cited how many of her interviewees would face prejudice due to them being Vietnamese and the weight of that ethnicity. Circling back, Blue was a nobody, a miscellaneous sister starting off without a name who finds a sense of identity after the world took everything away from her, and in response, she wants the world to feel that pain. The similarities and commentary could not be any more clear. Yet this extends past Blue. Principal was once the youngest, the first watcher. Because of her actions, she experienced trauma, one that she knowingly spread to her future sisters. But it does not stop there, because Iris was the one who inflicted that pain. Even before becoming All-Mother, she hurt her friend Zhao due to differences in culture and the fear of stigmatization. This pain Iris felt originated due to her conflicts with her mother, who herself was also hurt, not just from the revolution, but from differences in values between her and her own mom. Cyclicality is a recurring force, one that continually lingers. When talking about 1000xResist, post-memory is a prominent subject it discusses. However, only talking about post-memory does it a disservice. Throughout the story, generational trauma is a theme that is also explored, but is tackled in conjunction with post-memory and the politics of revolution. And that's what's beautiful about 1000xResist. It's a commentary on all of these subjects and how, in order to address one facet, the entire canvas must be explored too, demonstrating connected concepts which all contain significance. To heal from post-memory means having to notice and heal from generational trauma, as well as the circumstances that created said phenomena. In the game's final chapter, you are tasked with turning on and off lights of various characters, signifying their differing perspectives. In order to get the supposed good ending, you need to turn off Mauve, the Red Guard, and Principal's lights while turning on Watcher's sisters and Zhao's. To acquire this ending is to more thoroughly observe and change our behaviors instead of being a hammer that strikes indiscriminately. It also means stopping the oppressive forces that perpetuate itself. Mauve and the Red Guard are exemplary of these respectively. We must also recognize the pain that has been inflicted upon us, how we should not let those events define our character, to look inward instead of projecting it out to the world. Principal could have changed, she could have been forgiven, but she let those actions define her and it led to the suffering and discrimination of countless sisters. Despite this pain, we must continue moving forward while addressing the sins of our past. We have to see beyond the past and embrace what the future brings, even if pain is inevitable. Zhao's pain must be acknowledged, and we must right the wrongs created by those before us. When the universe resets, we play as a Zhao who accompanies Blue on her yearly visit to the orchard, now a leftover relic of a bygone past. We see memories of our predecessors and walk forward to the hopeful and uncertain future. The scene shifts. Blue is atop a structure and can finally see the sky. She takes off her mask, the very thing that has chained her all her life, and is finally able to breathe. She sees a memory of Iris, who walks forward to greet her other sisters. Even through all of the abuse, they are still willing to forgive her. But Principal is not there, for even in death she still cannot bring herself to be with her. But the ancient sin and the countless lies are gone. The truth is uncovered, and we are able to move forward because of that. The sky is open to us. Limitless potential, and yet it's scary to think what can happen next. The future is uncertain, and where do we go from here? All of it, or well, all of this is daunting to think about. And that's okay. We reach the surface and can now see newer horizons. We just have to keep moving forward.
Regret? Moi Moi? Or whoever you are. We are poor technology. The human body and brain. Too capable of storing clutter. Too desperate to hold on to things. You just have to move forward. If you're tired, doesn't matter. If you are bitter, doesn't matter. I do not forgive my daughter for having left me. Doesn't matter. I do not forgive my husband for having left me. Doesn't matter. So, I keep moving.
I didn't go back.
What?
I promised you and Ba I would come back home. And it was a lie. I even had a chance, but I couldn't go back. I could only go forward.
Good girl.